Hi there guys, I hope you're all well and welcome back to another weekly outlook video. In this video we're going to be breaking down the economic calendar for the week ahead and then also the US dollar, the yen, oil and gold. So we're going to see areas of interest, tradable opportunities and also look at some entries for the week ahead. So what I've done, I have filtered the economic calendar to the high impact events. We're not going to go over all of them, just the main ones. So overnight on Monday or Tuesday morning at 5:30, there's the Australian dollar interest rate decision. This is definitely going to move the market. I'd be careful. Usually for me, my rule of thumb, I won't trade Australian dollar or New Zealand dollar for the whole of Tuesday, just because I've seen it time and time again. The market has a reaction and then a few hours later, it just keeps going. So it's just not worth the risk for me. ISM Services PMI for the dollar in the afternoon on Tuesday at 3 p.m. That's something to keep an eye on. Overnight on Tuesday, there's the GDP for the Australian dollar. Going into Wednesday morning, GDP for the euro. The consensus from the previous is the exact same for euro. And regarding Australian dollar, there is due to be an increase. So this is something to keep an eye on. So this week, the consensus is that there's going to be a 0.5 increase for the interest rate, and the consensus for the GDP is that there is going to be an increase as well. So for that reason, you would say based off the news Tuesday and Wednesday, fundamentally, Australian dollar should be bullish. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be, because obviously the readings could come out different, but based on the consensus, that's why we've seen Australian dollar doing quite well over the past week. So as well on Wednesday, we've got the interest rate decision for the Canadian dollar. Previous 2.5%, consensus 3.25, so a 1.25% hike. So that's something to keep an eye on. Going into Thursday, you've got the GDP for the yen overnight. I personally don't trade overnight, so I don't really need to worry about that. And then obviously going into Thursday afternoon, you've got the deposit rate for the euro as well. So it's basically interest rate. So I definitely keep an eye on that. And that's pretty much it for the economic calendar. Going on to the DXY, let's look at the dollar. So for me this week, currently, we saw last week, price has actually broke above these highs. Now, realistically in this situation, you've seen that a candle has closed above. And this was about the 109.5 region. The next candle closed above on Thursday. Friday's candle almost came back to retest it and left a wick. So for that reason, we could still see the dollar push higher based off everything. Obviously, Friday was NFP, so we do have some extra volume there regarding this move here. This could easily retrace. But the good thing about the way we trade, we don't need to predict what every single candle is going to do. We can simply just wait for price to come into our areas of interest. And off the back end of that, we can look to see if there are some trades. So for me, if the dollar comes back to the 107 region quite quickly, I would say that this is an area of interest. Simply because I've got a nice key level, I've got an EMA, and I've got the round number of 107. So for that reason, if price can pull back into this quite sharply, I would expect to see a reaction. What I'm going to do as well is most likely just simply wait for more structure to be formed regarding a fib. Not many levels I would trade at the minute on the fib. So what I'm going to do is allow basically the market to play out over the course of the week and see what's what, and then obviously just act upon that. Obviously throughout the week we don't post weekly outlook videos, but if you do join the free Telegram in the bio from here, this is where you're going to be able to see the updates through the week. So obviously if you're not in that group already, click the link in the bio and obviously you can join the free group. So the 107 region is my initial area of interest. However, over the course of the week I'm expecting to see a bit more play out. And hopefully we will have some areas of interest. Now, going on to the yen basket, so we've seen yen over the past couple of weeks has simply just been in a downtrend. There's no real indication that this is going to stop. Obviously, currently we are moving sideways almost here. So there's not much movement, but you've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks we have been moving down. Now, what we could potentially see is that we've got a channel here where price has been moving. I don't really draw my channels like this regarding the underneath, but you could say, for example, here, that price is being squeezed in that almost like a descending wedge. However, that's not the way we trade. So realistically for me, if price can pull back up into this area here at about 77.40, let me just double check. Yep, 77.40. So what I'll do is just make a note on that. If we can get a pullback to 77.40, I would be expecting potential yen weakness. Off the back end of that, you are going to be able to buy pairs like GJ, EJ, UJ, etc., etc. But for now, that would be the first area of interest. We've also up here, price would have to sharply move up to this area here, but at about 79.45, we do have an EMA pushing down with a key level with multiple touches and also the the 8,000 round number. So for that reason, I would be looking at that. And sorry, not the 8,000, the 7,945. So that's the reason I would be looking at this area here as well. Once again, we've got another channel coming this way, so we could potentially see price come up to the top of this channel at about 80.20. If price can come up to this area at this point where we have marked, then that could make good use of a short, simply because every single time price has hit this trend line so far, the 2 times it has, there has been a huge move. Meaning that if price can return to this, again, we're potentially going to see a huge move. Easy as that. So they're the 3 areas for the yen basket, only areas of weakness currently. Obviously, you've got this little area here where we could see some strength. I'll do it as purple just because it's not the strongest. But potentially here at 7,537, so let's just say 7,540. It's going to potentially take a lot for yen to break this area, just because we've had 2 huge moves from the area. Once again, 1 move, 2 move, potentially if there's a 3rd move, then that could make for a good trade. But we're just going to have to see. But yeah, so that's what they're the areas for yen basket for the week ahead. Now let's go on to oil and gold, where we are going to be able to potentially see where we may have some actual entries. So looking at oil, we've seen a big shift once again to the downside. Pretty much the course of the end of last week, oil was just melting down. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world at the minute. Oil has been technically sound recently. It didn't used to be. Like if you look here, it's pretty slow. However, obviously since Corona and also the wars, etc., oil has started being a little bit more lively. So the first thing that I would look for regarding oil is we're looking at this most recent swing within the market. If price can push up and come into this 61 fib region here, we have the 93 round number or the 72.50, whichever one you want to use. We have a 61 fib. We have EMAs here, potentially also the trend line unless price comes up to here. But for me right now, if I'm looking at this, I would probably actually say $92 could be your area of interest. So if I put $92 in here for you to see, hopefully then you can look at that. 61 fib, you've got 2 key levels, you've got the EMAs, looks like a really good confluence zone for a trade, so I would be looking at that. If price does manage to break that after a reaction or not, then you could potentially come and look at the $95 region. At the $95 region, you have the 3rd touch of that channel. You have a key level and also the 95 round number. So for that reason, I would be looking at them as areas of interest. However, in terms of longs, there's not really anything to look at. You could say if price maybe comes down into somewhere like this, this would be almost like just a retest profit taking area. See, there's wicks around here, but in all honesty, it probably won't be the strongest. So I'm not going to say. We'll leave the box on just to see how it reacts, but it's not a tradable opportunity for me Only thing I'm looking for currently with oil is shorts. Another thing that I want to just touch on, if you look here, let me just get rid of the EMAs. If you look here and we're just simply looking, right, this was the lower high within the market that made the lower low. So what happened then was price then came up, broke this lower high, so then breakout traders, etc., were looking potentially go long, looking at a market structure shift within the market. Price slammed back down to grab some liquidity. Same again happened, push up, break this high, grab some liquidity, straight back down. So just be careful with your breakout candles. This is why for me personally, I don't draw a fib until the pullback is done, simply because you just don't know what the market's going to do, and there are a lot of fake outs. So these are the two areas of interest for oil. And finally, let's look at gold. Gold for me, obviously, it was NFP last week, so we do have the US dollar and gold making a decent little move. First area of interest for me is going to be the 1724 area. So 1724 is the initial area of interest. We've got an EMA, I've got a 50 fib of the most recent swing. I've got a key level, got almost like a break and retest. So that is going to make for a good trade in my opinion. Also, if we look here, and in all fairness, that can actually go along. It doesn't have to be timed as well. 1736 looks like a good area. Obviously, this is purely technical. If something big fundamentally comes out, please bear that in mind, not to just obviously get all these areas slammed. So we've got a 50 fib, the 61 fibs working as well. EMA coming into this 1786 area. So this is another. Let's just do that. So yep, 1786 looks like a decent area. As well, retested the highs. We've got a few touches of this key level. EMA coming in. And that is at 1708. So these are the four areas of interest. We've got a 50 fib key level, EMA, break retest as well. 61 fib key level, nice little touches on that. EMA key level, EMA key level. So these are the areas of interest for gold. So what I would advise doing, guys, if you haven't already, either chart these up on your own or join the free group where there will be live updates throughout the week when areas have been reached. Any questions at all, you can just put them in the comments, or any requests for content. But hopefully, guys, you've learned something from this video. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.